Hey, puppy.
Hello?
We hear you, Alexandra.
Perfect. How's everyone doing?
Great. How are you?
Good.
Awesome.
I made it in my chair. I was part of an effort in LA where we are feeding event workers for free and giving them like 43 pounds of food. So
Wow.
That's awesome.
pretty amazing. I've been like sobbing all day.
This one's garbage.
And we're live.
Yeah.
Off.
All right. We're live?
Yeah.
Great.
Alexandra, you got started.
All right, perfect. Welcome to our first Facebook Live Town Hall. I am so excited to welcome you. Tonight is going to be a very exciting night where we're going to be giving you a behind the scenes look at the coalition and our executive committee. For those of you who have just recently joined the group or are still getting to know us, in just 4 weeks, we've made some great strides. We have over 96 local chapter groups. We have about 60 volunteers. We have amazing people working around the clock behind the scenes. I know you see a little bit, but we have absolute great stride that we're making really as much as we can to truly go above and beyond and really advocate as a unified voice for our industry. So without further ado, what I would like to do is we continue to develop this a little bit further. For most of you that don't know, this started kind of overnight with a petition that was started by the Digerati team. And right now, tonight, we'll get an inside look with our executive committee. They each have different areas that they're focusing on, that they're working on, and then different leads that are working with them individually. And they'll each be able to kind of summarize what they're doing. So let's go ahead and start up top with you, Eileen.
Okay, great. I'm Eileen Galois. I'm the Senior Vice President of Entertainment for PRG. And I have been in the hospitality and live events industry for over 25 years. Started in hotels, catering. I'm a CMP. I'm a certified meeting planner and certified special event professional. And have worked really operations and event execution for a very long time. I joined the production side of the industry about 16 years ago and have been in that capacity ever since. So on the production side.
Great. And so tell me a little bit more about what you are doing specifically when it comes to LAC and also how you found out and how you quickly kind of drew forces.
Sure. So the petition had come across my feed and there was roughly 250, 275, 300 signatures, something like that. And I thought, you know, it was great. I signed it and I shared it. And the next day when I went back to look at it, I saw that there was close to 39,000 signatures about 24 hours later. So it was pretty compelling to me. And I had gone to LinkedIn to see if I knew any of the guys from Digerati and reached out to Isaac and said, hey, let me know how I can support you. This is fantastic. And I have been talking to him every day since, along with all of you. So it's been a long 4 or 5 weeks, but it's been great. So and I'm specifically working on a focus area for public relations and our communication strategy and that social media and branding, of course, and content with you, Alexandra, and you're doing an amazing job. And Julie Law, who's working in internal public relations, and then also we're working with Filet on high profile endorsements, and really kind of working with bringing in some of the talent that we produce every day, whether that be recording artists or keynote speakers or what have you, athletes and various public speakers that can sort of speak up for us. So we're working on that as well in public relations.
Great. I love that. And I'm going to go right up to Shannon next.
Hi, I'm Shannon Cook. I am the COO of TourTech, and we are a network infrastructure company. So we bring the internet and that backbone to every live event. That's not where I started in the event or entertainment industry. I was actually on stage in my first career, and then sidestepped over to a change in human resources with Showtime Networks in Los Angeles. I was there for a good while. And then with TourTech, that spun up about 17 years ago. My husband is the CEO, and I joined the company officially 3 years ago.
Great.
So, yeah.
And tell me a little bit more about your relationship with the Live Event Coalition, how you discovered it, and then additionally what you are doing now as part of the committee.
Sure. Well, when everything started happening early in March, we were definitely impacted right away. And we have about 26 full-time employees and had to take action. We lost a significant amount of revenue right away. And just sharing with my network and people, someone sent me the petition, and I noticed that there was a Raleigh connection, and we're based in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I absolutely picked up the phone and talked to folks over at Digerati and got sucked in. And I'm so honored to be involved with such passionate people who want to make something happen. The pieces that I've been involved in are some behind the scenes. So setting up the entity and infrastructure from a legal standpoint, and working with some of us on the team from a financial standpoint to get that rolling. And then I also support the fundraising efforts, which we're hopefully going to really be digging into soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next I'm going to go to Nancy. If you could go ahead and tell me a little bit your full name, what you do professionally, how you kind of got into the industry, and then we'll follow it up with a couple questions.
Sure. I'm Nancy Schaefer. I'm the founder and CEO of an event strategy and management company here in Washington, D.C. called Bravo Events. I'm not really sure how I got into the event, except that I believe that you are born with this industry in your blood. And sooner or later, if you don't find it, it will find you. And 30 plus years ago, after a very long career in sales and marketing, it found me, and I've never left. So I believe in the industry. I believe in all of our people. I think that it's a remarkable group of human beings, from top to side to left to right and all the way around. I came to the coalition through a DC coalition. So early in March, a group of planners got together to just kind of provide some support with one another and talk about the challenges that we were facing or about to face. And that was the DC Event Coalition. It literally started with 7 planners who just kind of wanted to have somebody to listen to. And it has grown. And during that time, one of my colleagues, Lynn Stout, who is also a member of our national organization here, reached out to Isaac and then connected me. And as Eileen said, we've been connected and talking every day ever since, at least once a day, if not 5 to 6.
Right.
So that's how I have been involved. I've always believed that sadly, this is the wrong way to come together, but I've always believed that we as an industry need to have a voice, and that together we're pretty mighty.
And what are you specifically working on right now?
So my specific areas are what we're calling outreach. And what that includes is reaching out to everyone that's out there who is in our industry to make sure that we have your support and we're listening to you, as well as industry outreach to align ourselves with some of the larger associations who have very loud voices but may not include ours. So doing a lot of work with that, as well as supporting some of the long-term goals to be able to provide some resources with webinars and things of that for everyone who's in need.
Great. Okay, next I'm going to go to Alex. So Alex, if you want to tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we'll segue into how you came across the petition and what you do specifically for LEC.
Sure. So my name is Alex Federizi. I'm an audio specialist at Solotech. I spent over 10 years in audio. I spent 6 years touring. With the latest position touring was as a systems engineer for audio. Once I got to the point where I wanted to settle down, I took this position as a specialist to support multiple tours and support multiple clients at the same time and work in the background and be home more. And that's where I'm at.
Great. And tell me a little bit more about what happened when you saw the petition and kind of what you're doing now.
So I saw the petition. I actually was, when I saw all the events canceling for us at Solotech, I started to reach out to my colleagues, and I mean, we were looking at cancellations around the world, and then it started to move into the US, and I was just reaching out to colleagues to see what was happening to them and how they were seeing the effects. And I had reached out to Isaac, and he said, "Hey, did you see my petition?" And at that point it had like 39,000 signatures on it. And I saw it and I signed the petition, and I said, "How can I help? What can I do to support you?" And he said, "I'm going to put together a conference call tomorrow." And by that time, I think it had grown to over 100,000 signatures, and many of the people here were on some of the first conference calls, and I just wanted to get involved.
I love that. That's great. And what are you doing now specifically? What's your role?
So I do a lot of organization. So I'm working on, or I've been working on the platforms that we're using to collaborate and communicate, and trying to streamline communication and make it easier for everybody to collaborate, as well as, you know, as an organization, we've really been working on how is the organization going to operate efficiently and putting that on paper and trying to communicate that. And I'm kind of involved in all of the areas a little bit because that communication and collaboration kind of encompasses the whole organization.
Sure. Okay, next I'm going to go to Trevor. Trevor, you want to tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we'll kind of segue into LEC specifically.
Yeah, I'm Trevor Zwicky, and I am, sorry, there's an echo there. I'm Trevor Zwicky, and I am the Director of Production and Accounts for Digital Productions. I came on that role in this year, full time. It's been fun for the last couple of months. I've been in production for about 16 years now and held various roles in some larger corporations and smaller corporations. But I came on board as part of the owner of Digerati and bought into that company this year. So I'm fresh as an ownership in Digerati, as well as 3 months into it, then we had this beautiful pandemic hit. So
Wow. And so tell me a little bit, obviously you were part of the founding team that launched the petition and kind of go forth, but tell me maybe a little bit more, since you and Isaac worked together, how did you guys come together? What's your story?
Oh, that's a long time ago. That was what, 9 years ago. I moved to Syracuse to take a job as a technical director for a non-for-profit up there in Syracuse, New York. And he was part of that non-for-profit and had a studio. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I'm going to hang out with this guy. And we just kind of hit it off. And then kind of been partners in crime ever since.
Wow.
Since back in 2000 and
12.
12? Yeah.
So I guess what I would like to know before I segue into what specifically you're working on is, so all of a sudden our industry comes to a halt. And how exactly did you guys get to the point where you were like, we need to create this petition? What's your story from the inside as far as overnight this happened? What did that look like from your perspective?
We saw a huge amount of our events that we had scheduled. We had some really promising months looking forward in, April, May, June were some of the record months, and we started seeing all of our stuff cancel. And one of our sales guys was on the phone just trying to collaborate with meeting planners and just really trying to say, hey, what's going on? What are you guys seeing? And the phone calls are like, why are you even calling us? Like, everything's canceling. We're like, we're not trying to find business. This is more of just, we want to reach out. And I had a meeting with Isaac and Randy, and was like, we got to do something. And so we decided to write this petition, and Isaac was the one to write it. I mean, his words just are very, very touching in the way he formulated everything. It really tugged in the heartstrings of everybody. And we just knew that our industry, as the live events industry, was just kind of dying and shriveling up overnight. And I think that he captured the essence and the emotion of it very well.
Great. So now a little bit more about, since, now the petition is here, we're at over 455,000 signatures. Where are you with the coalition? What are you doing specifically? What does your day-to-day look like as far as your role goes now?
I am handling the money side of things, as well as some of the background technology, making sure that our emails are up and running, helping out with some of the stuff on the back end of the website, and then handling the books, making sure that we are in compliance with the federal government, as well as any donations being brought in, that we can account for them, and we can track everything to where it's going, and showing people the how we're appropriating those funds and making sure that they're getting into the hands that need them, as well as helping some of the operational cost of running an organization that just kind of came out of nothing. So
sure. Okay. All right, now we're going to go on to you, Mr. Rothwell. Tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do prior to the petition and the coalition forming. Give me a little inside look into your world.
Well, I think Trevor introed me a little well, but I'm the National Director of Operations at Digerati Productions. And what that kind of entails is I kind of make sure everything keeps running for us all over the country when we're having multiple events everywhere. I used to be on site a lot, but as we grew, I kind of had to grow into a role of making sure everything happens. Kind of getting the phone call in the middle of the night if a truck broke down, or if something doesn't show up on site, sourcing it. So that's kind of what I do. I came into the industry through my good friend Trevor here, as I used to be in audio production, run recording studios, work with musicians every day, have built 2 recording studios. And then Trevor introduced me into live events, and it was like an instant attraction. I really enjoyed it. I felt it was just a very different flow. And I came up through the industry just on the audio side, obviously, but I had a background in education on the video side and broadcast and radio and television. So I quickly picked up a whole lot of skills, become a jack of all trades, moved up to project management, technical direction. And then, as that grows, I get into a role with Digerati Productions and kind of find my role in this. And then Trevor, again, our friendship kind of brought us back together, and it's been awesome. So that's kind of how I got into the industry.
That's great. So now tell me your perspective of the petition. Overnight, our industry comes to a halt. Where are you at? What are you thinking? What happens next?
Well, for me, it was just like, once someone said petition, that's what happens next. It was the thought of what could bring us together. I don't know, maybe a petition could. At least we said something. I think I know in the discussions with Trevor and Randy, the thought was, as we were planning for worst case scenarios and seeing this happening, seeing that the industry, thinking that, hey, this industry is probably going to come to a screeching halt overnight. And I know the mention was, well, maybe there'll be some aid packages that help. And just hearing that we kind of didn't know what the federal government was going to do, the aid package, and it just clicked in me, hey, let's do a petition. Let's just make sure that our industry, our voice, our perspective, we try to share. Because I knew that we're so behind the scenes, such a behind the scenes industry, that at the end of the day, a lot of people aren't going to realize, hey, all these live events people, they do this for a living. They do it all over the country. And there's so many of them that we know how many we are, but I didn't know how we were going to let everyone know that. I know my close family would know. Some of them were checking in on me, but outside of that, it's really hard to help people understand what we were dealing with. So that was that motivation.
Gotcha. So now tell me a little bit more. I'd love to know, now that the coalition has formed and the signatures continue to come in and the chapters are continuing to grow, what does your day-to-day look like? What are you doing and how have you redefined your role to really focus on certain items?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's been amazing. The 4 weeks in the growth, and it was a petition and now it's the Live Events Coalition, and all that's happens in between is like mind-blowing. So I think what kind of how my transition's been is initially it was just connecting people, and it was connecting people with the petition. Then it was, all right, you're calling and want to help. Well, if we all want to help, now let's just start talking. And what kind of talking came ideas, and then ideas came action. And I do live events, I do production. So it's like, you give me an idea, I'm going to come up, I'm going to enhance that idea and try to bring it to fruition. So it's just been over the last 4 weeks, I've kind of transitioned these different roles, and I've kind of now settled into this area of helping the chapters kind of grow, which is exciting to me because it was actually one of the ideas that I had and kind of launched very quickly, and it grew some steam. And then we kind of had some other things. We had to get this, we had to realize what our vision, not what our vision was, but what our mission was. And so chapters took kind of a back seat. They were growing, but we kind of got everything in place now with content, with what our brand is, and what we're really focusing on to represent all these people that have come together to create this we. And now it's, to me, the focus is chapters, and I'm really excited about that because it continues to grow, which the ultimate goal of this whole petition was to bring us all together to be heard.
I love that. So now that everyone's kind of introduced themselves, for those of you that don't know me, I don't know if I did a good job of letting you know who I am and how I'm moderating tonight. I'll quickly let you know that now that everyone has spoken. My name is Alexandra Brumback, and what my role is I own a company, Sterling Engagements. This week we're celebrating 15 years. I am an event producer, a designer, and also just a community organizer. Philanthropic endeavors are kind of in my blood and heart and soul. And how I came across the coalition is I saw the petition circulating. It was very early on, within the first 24 hours. And I happened to be talking to several people with regards to press, and I reached out to them actually because I had shared the petition with someone that was on the press side, and actually they were able to formulate an article out of it. So quickly I had submitted it, and then somehow overnight I instantly become part of the volunteer efforts. Most of my focus has been on branding and content and the strategy behind that. So I'm working kind of directly with Eileen, but a little bit with everybody, really helping truly define our voice and make sure that it's very consistent and cohesive. And so that's kind of where my role plays tonight. Is I am looking to get as much information out of each of you as we continue to further into the town hall. And I can ask those questions because I am articulating them on our website and across everything else. So with that said, I think that now we all know a little bit about who you guys are as far as your background and what you're doing day to day. What I'd love to know is, I want to humanize this a little bit, and I want people to know who you are as people and kind of what brings you joy. So I'm going to take this back and recirculate to you guys a little bit. And I would love to hear, I think I'm going to go ahead and actually start with you, Isaac, because we just had spoken with you. If you can just let me know, within the event world and the event industry, what brings you the most joy as far as your role and what you do every day, and kind of what you're missing the most. And then at the same time, twofold, by being part of the coalition and being part of the executive committee, I would love to know what you're finding the most joy in doing day to day and every day. What has been the one thing that you've been a part of throughout this last 4 weeks that you've really, really been just proud of and excited of, and that's just given you that warm and fuzzy feeling inside?
Oh, that's a long question. So on the, I guess the work side, I miss it because I don't go on as many events directly, just more of the larger ones. But I love right before the strike. The strike's all, everyone knows teardown's awesome, but once the event's done and you're just like, we did it, share the success, you embrace, you hug the planner you're working with, the people in your team, and you celebrate. So that's my favorite part, is the end of the successful event.
For sure.
work. I mean, that I think that's what got me into the industry. I was like, this is awesome. It's almost, I'm such an athlete, so it's almost like it's back to when I was in high school playing basketball. Like, you win the game and everyone's happy for the next day until the next one, and you work hard for the next. That's what I love about live events. What brings me joy, I think, is similar maybe in the LEC and the Live Events Coalition, is I get excited on when we reach that next step. When we had this idea and we fight, we refine it, we keep working on it, and then it's like right there. Then we have to refine it again, and then we find a way to just make it launch and make it happen. And that excites me. Every time we're able to do one more thing that we set our mind to, I just know that, you know, we're reaching a little bit closer to representing everyone that's kind of behind us and working with us in this, and trying to bring it together. So what excites me too is when we're here in this Facebook group and I see people interacting and helping each other, and they're reaching out and asking for help, and I can say something. Or what really excites me is when some person I've never met before just gives a great, very helpful answer, provides a wonderful resource to someone. I just seeing that as well. That's the next thing that really excites me too, is seeing that just this organic community that just quickly formed, and people going out of their way to push each other forward in this tough time.
I love that. I'm going to go next to you, Trevor. If you can just let me know joy from the industry, and then what has brought you joy over the last 4 weeks through LEC.
Joy from the industry. I there's a couple of things of joy. I do love one. I would say I'm slightly bougie in the sense that I love my upgrades. I fly one specific airline carrier, and I love getting those upgrades. And I love going after the event's over and sitting down and kind of doing a quick, recap of what happened and how it went down, how we can always do better. I always look at the next best thing, and I always love looking at the little things and the details that we might have missed, or the details that we did great on. Like, hey, every single cable was perfectly taped down on this event, which doesn't happen all the time. So I love those little things. What brings me joy in the Live Events Coalition right now is just seeing our industry together. When there's a time deadline, when there's something that's happening, we all rally together. We're not just a project manager. We're not just an LD. We're not just a meeting planner. We're not just a florist. We are setting, if there's a deadline, we're always helping each other out. We are going to rally together to make sure that event happens for our client and for to go off without a hitch. And I think that I've seen that, and I see a whole bunch of industries that were competitors, and now we're going to come together, and we're going to make something happen for the people that are kind of without a voice, and they've never had a voice, because we're always in the shadows. And if we do our job correctly, no one ever notices us. But I think it's our time to be noticed a little bit, and I see that coming to fruition, and that's what brings me joy, seeing all these companies and all these people coming together and saying, we're going to make one voice for us. And I think that's great.
That's beautiful. All right, Alex, joy in the industry and joy as far as LEC goes. Give me your elevator pitch, quick style.
I like to see a project from concept to completion. Like, it's really rewarding to see all the planning and hard work that you've done come together, and then, like they said, once it's done, you really get that satisfaction of wow, we put together a great event and it went off really well. But I'm also, a lot like Trevor in that once the event's finished, I'm looking at, okay, how can we do better next time? Even if it did go, to our standards very well, it never is perfect. There's always something you can do better.
Sure.
And so that's what brings me joy in my role now, doing that with multiple, clients it's fantastic. And with the LEC, it's the same thing, like seeing this thing grow from the petition into an organization, and seeing all of that come together and all the planning we're doing. And it's going to be really satisfying when it all comes together and everything we've worked for just happens. And that's kind of how a show works as well. You get through all this planning, and then it's crunch time, and then there's, half an hour or an hour that really matters. And that hour is, what everybody remembers. And I don't think we're quite there yet, but we're at the planning is coming, and that hour is going to happen, and you know, everybody's going to see the difference, and I can't wait for that.
I love that. All right, let's go up to Nancy next. What brings you joy with what you do every day, and what brings you joy with what you're doing right now with your days?
What brings me joy in the event industry is that it's in my role as a planner, it is the creation of an experience. It's bringing a client's story to life and doing that by assembling a really powerful team. So what gives me the greatest joy is to know that I get to work with people that are really talented and really smart. And our common cause is to bring the client's objective or mission to life, and to watch the reaction of those who are in attendance. I tell people all the time, the day that the doors open and I don't get that, then I know that it's time for me to leave the industry. It is an adrenaline rush. This is me jumping out of an airplane. So I tell people all the time. And, you know, I'm honored to do it for people. I'm honored to be on teams with remarkably smart and talented people. And I think that what we do as an industry is critically important. And so it's hard for some people outside of our industry to understand that, but I know that everybody in this industry and what we all do is really important to the day-to-day lives of thousands and thousands of people. What do I love about LEC? Anybody who knows me knows that I have been standing on a soapbox for God knows how long about the fact that it is not just one person, that we are 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. And that if you do not have every single piece in the puzzle, then the puzzle doesn't come together. And that we've never had a voice to speak together. So you've got, you know, this partner over here, and you've got that partner over here, and you've got this partner over here. And what we're able to do is finally tell the story. And as we've all talked on this call, we get to come from behind the curtain and say, this is what it really takes. We are the Wizard of Oz, and we are important, and we need to be supported. And so watching it grow in my role of reaching out to these very large associations and being able to say, hi, I'm with the Live Events Coalition.
Sure.
The petition that now has 455,454 signatures on it. And everybody's mouth drops open. They're like, what? And I'm like, yes. So it's wonderful to tell. I believe that it is my job to, along with all of us, to tell the story of what it takes.
Sure.
Any human beings it touches. And that for me is pure joy.
That's lovely. I love that.
Joy.
Shannon, I would love to know your elevator pitch of what brings you joy in what you do, and what is bringing you the most joy right now with what you're doing in your role with Live Event Coalition.
Sure. What brings me joy in the industry? Technology is changing so fast. I love it when we have the opportunity to do something that has never been done before, and we figure it out. We MacGyver it. You don't get a do-over. It's a live event, and we pull it off. That is a huge reward.
Sure.
For the Live Events Coalition, what brings me joy? With countering being an owner of a business and having to sit and look at half of your employees and tell them that today is their last day. And being able to turn the other page and say, okay, how am I going to make a difference to help companies like mine survive this and help those that are family to me survive this?
Right.
That has been such a touchstone, and I'm really excited. We just hired all of those people back Monday with the PPP program. So some things are working and not all of them are. And to be a part of the force that's trying to get the word out, trying to get education to people so everyone can take advantage of the programs that are there, or we can try to help fix ones that are not working. That's getting me through each and every day.
I love that. All right, Eileen, I'm going to have you kind of wrap this one up and let me know what you love about what you do every day. I know you have a very dynamic position and role in what you do career-wise, and I know I get the pleasure of working with you day to day within Live Event Coalition. So tell me a little bit about what you love with that, because of course I'm curious, but I'm sure it'll be exactly how I feel.
I mean, just in terms of this industry, I love that I love my job. I really do. I love that I love my job. And that after this many years in it, I started in this industry when I was 18 years old. And I'm not going to say how old I am now, but it's been a long time. And I love my job still. And every day is a little bit different. And I love that. I think one of the things I love about this industry the most is there's a couple things. One is that we get one shot to get a live event right. And so there's just as Nancy said, a lot of adrenaline that goes with that. And we work really hard behind the scenes to do that. And then we create these magical sort of immersive experiences for our audiences. And I love that. I also love that you are, I think, respected more for, rolling up your sleeves in this industry and digging in and working hard than just about anything else. It's really about work ethic and character and showing up and I think carrying the load with your crew. Regardless of the side of the industry you come from, I think it's about that. It's about a team of people that come together to make something happen. And it really doesn't matter what background you come from, what education you have. There's certainly a component of that and different skill sets, of course, but it's really about how hard you work. So I really appreciate that. And with Live Events Coalition, that really feeds exactly what my joy is with that, which is the faces behind events. And I'm using our social media hashtag, which is hashtag faces behind events. Of course, got to get that out there. We launched the campaign this last week, and we're shining a light on every single person across this industry that normally works behind the scenes and is comfortable with that. And that's okay. We actually love to make it happen for other people, right? And so whether you are a concession worker or a caterer or a production guy or a rigger or what have you, photographer, I mean, I can't possibly list every single position that goes into making a live event happen. But regardless of the role you play in live events, typically, if we're doing things really well, in particular, we're not seen. It's the talent that we produce or the guests that we're welcoming that are seen, and that's okay. But right now in this crisis, when our industry was shut down overnight by mandate, and frankly, shut down before any other industry, came to a grinding halt. So people could still fly and people could still go to restaurants and they can still get takeout. Our industry was shut down overnight with no warning and no time to prepare. And all of the people that make the magic happen in events need some attention. And so it's being able to bring those faces out. And we're taking a number of different tacks with that. That's of course, faces that we're posting each and every day with a little bit of a story. We've got some really exciting things. We just launched yesterday our first Women Behind Events series, and that's going to be a series that's Women on Wednesdays, all about the ladies that are in this industry, badass ladies, if I can say that. We had a great story last night on Instagram Live with Nikki Berna, who works on tour and is just awesome. And we're going to continue that every Wednesday, and we're going to have a way to showcase different faces every day and tell the stories of the people that make it happen. And I'm really excited about that. There's a lot more to come with that. And so that's kind of what just gets me up every morning and is really exciting to me, is that we're finally getting into that part of this campaign and this effort that we're getting to do that.
I love that. And of course, I love our campaign that we've launched. So for those of you watching, if you haven't already shared your photo and you haven't already broadcast it out there, faces behind events. I encourage you, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere that you feel comfortable doing so, post your face, post photos of your crew, post photos of anything and everything behind the scenes that you can, and tag that and do it proudly, because I think that that's what really humanizes this movement, is allowing people to understand all the faces that are affected and all the faces that are a part of this and all the faces that have come together.
It's
So,
true. And if I can say just one other thing with that, when you post your faces, when you post your colleagues, your friends, your employees, your crew, what have you, I mean, you're taking a minute to reminisce about an event that you did together. You're taking a minute to recognize that and stop watching the news. It's horrible news right now. We're all in a dark place. But if we remember the people that we work with every day, and we remember to reach out and support them and celebrate them a little bit, we had joy last night when we were talking with Nikki, right? On Instagram Live. We had joy. And so it brings joy to us to do that. So, we need you. We need you behind that hashtag, because we need it to go viral. So we need you for that. But we also need to just take a minute and reflect on why we love the industry. And that's what Faces is all about. And I also just want to mention, because she's not mentioned here, and I did mention Julie in the beginning, Julie Law is working with us on that. But I also want to make sure I mention Shannon Zulinki, Trevor's sister. She is our social media coordinator, and she is doing a fantastic job. So I just want to make sure we give her props as well, because she's really stepping up with a lot of crazy type A event people to help us out. It's good preparation for teaching.
so now that we've had kind of an in-depth introduction to all of you, I think what for me would be so great to be able to share with people is kind of each of your individual roles and what you guys are leading, kind of what's in it for everyone. How will it affect them? What will it do for them as far as where they will see those results most? So with Eileen, you just continue. I'm going to have you just continue to speak and start with what your strategy is and how it will affect everyone, and kind of narrow in that focus a little bit about,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so public relations, I mean, it's a bucket term, right, for a lot of different things. It's media outreach. That's a lot of what we're doing. It's the social media piece. But really kind of what's closest to my heart is that the public relations campaign that we've just launched, this Spaces, what it's intended to do is raise awareness about our industry, as we talked about, but set us up for that next, as I'm calling it, phase 2, which is to move into support and resources. So, as we build awareness and as we get people on board to support us, all of the work that Nancy's team is doing. But as we get, we've got a lot of fantastic organizations that are coming on board to support us. And so Faces is going to pick up a lot of steam in the next week or so. It's already picking up steam, but with that, then we get a lot of partners on board to be able to bring links for resources, whether it be mental health support, whether it be, potential job support, whether it be some additional help. We're putting some exciting things together to be able to bring some experts in to help us figure out the CARES Act and what that's all about. And also, whatever may come down the pike, so we can kind of try to break that down. So that's a little bit of what we're working on, and it's public relations, I guess, because we're putting campaigns around it. But really what it is the 6 of us on this executive leadership group working together to collaborate in all of our areas and make sure that the end result is really, a couple things. Make sure the federal government and state government knows us, which Nancy's team is working really hard on, and make sure that we are tapping into resources and support across the community and making it available for all of the 18,000 members in this national Facebook group. And then 96, by the way, it was 46 last week. I just want to note that it's gone up 50 chapters in the last week, which is pretty amazing. So that's really what we're working on through public relations. And that's a number of different buckets that we're working in to do that. But that's what the culmination of that will be.
Great. I love that. And I'm going to go to you next, Shannon. I would love to be able to share with everyone kind of as far as your fundraising efforts and kind of what you're doing day to day. How will that affect them, and what will that do for them, so that they know and they have an inside understanding into that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's really, not only do we want to have one unified voice, we want to have an impact. So we're working very hard to align with the funder, be a part of cultivating a fund that really allows us to get direct support to the broad reach of industry professionals that we have and that are in need. We're really trying to focus on the areas of financial support, medical support, the mental health support, and really pull those resources. Please know it's coming. We're not there yet, but I'm hoping that that's right around the corner.
Great. And Nancy, I know a lot of what you're doing is outreach and connecting and kind of really that reach out. Now, what will that do for people and how will that affect them? Those partnerships, those relationships, what is that looking like right now?
So one of the concerns that we've always had is that there really weren't spaces for us as an industry to kind of come together as a whole industry. Again, there are organizations that support exhibitors and venues and different types of components and what we all do, but not one. So the goal is to start to work with these larger associations such as US Travel or EIC, which is the Events Industry Council, the International Association of Exhibitors and Events, and more, to basically allow what I'm going to refer to as our members, which are all of these 500,000 people, to have access to lots of different things. The opportunity to potentially get insurance for 1099 workers, the possibility to have continuing education. We've also started to partner with FIU, which is Florida International University, to offer webinars and things of that nature to begin to maximize their resources, because those are established organizations with great infrastructures. We don't really want to reinvent the wheel. We just want to make the wheel better and the wheel more applicable to our people. And what we spoke to somebody this morning at Events Industry Council, and she said, so really, you guys are the front line. And I said, yes, we are the front line. And so we want to bring to the front line opportunities that some of these larger organizations that we would never be a part of offer to their members and pass it on to everyone else. And then, long term, much like Eileen has said and Shannon has said, is that we are a resource, and we are a resource for our people, be it funds, be it education, be it insurance, but getting recognition in further bills, getting recognition from other industry partners. So creating partnerships that will be very valuable for the long term.
Great. Alex, I know you're helping me day to day, and I know what you're doing to help me get organized and everything. Tell everyone else a little bit about how you feel like your role and what you're doing as far as communications and organization, how that affects and what that does as far as what it will do for them.
Well, I think my behind the scenes work will help people collaborate within the organization. So we're at over 60 volunteers now, I believe, who are all trying to work together on this cause and really amplify everybody's voices and just bringing those people together to work within their specialties and their talents, and make sure we're using those to the best of their abilities and finding what people's talents are and matching them with the right things for them to do, just so that everybody is getting more out of what we're doing. And at the end of the day, I think that my role will really help get our communication to people faster. We have a lot of people who have signed the petition. We have a lot of people who have written letters in our letter writing campaign. And we want to reach out to all of those people and help them, bring them resources, and bringing all of that information together is key to being able to reach back out to them and send them the correct resources and the resources that they need, because everybody has a different need right now. But the common thing is everybody has a need, and we want to find those needs and bring them the resources that they need.
Yeah, and I think as we continue to grow, I think that your role is so essential, because I think that you're going to make it so that we can continue to be that well-oiled machine and kind of keep us on track as far as that goes. I think without that, even just from when it was, 11 people and then it grew to 20 and now it's at 60, I think that it's essential as it continues to grow. I think that that support is really going to allow us to continue to grow. So I'm going to go right up to Trevor. And Trevor, if you could tell me a little bit more about how your role affects everyone else. Obviously today and this live and everything was very much orchestrated by you, but tell me a little bit more so people can understand that are watching.
My role is kind of more on the lines with Alex there, in the sense that I'm more in the background and supporting my executive team here, as well as the rest of the members, in the sense for the technology as well as the finance, and really making sure that we stay compliant, and making sure that if we need to look at getting something for the coalition or something like that, that we get approval on it, and make sure that everything is spent correctly, and making sure that we align ourselves in the right way. That's basically my position there. So, and I wasn't the one who put the live thing together. That would be Alex tonight. So thank you, Alex. I don't want to take credit for that.
Trevor did a lot of work on it as well.
I know I was kind of messaging back and forth with you guys both. I apologize. I was kind of running around earlier today, but let's go ahead and go to Isaac. Isaac, if you want to tell everyone a little bit more about what your role is right now with regards to how it will benefit them and what you're doing to basically support them as well. I know that they get to hear from you quite frequently in our Facebook group and beyond, but tell them a little bit about what that will do for them and how the work you're doing is going right towards what their ability,
Absolutely. I think my role has kind of been as it changes, but it's always kind of remained the same as where Trevor and Randy put me in the beginning, is to share my passion for our industry vocally. So to continue to try to share hope and say, even though we're facing tough times, I think the message that I've always had is we're going to come together and do that. So I feel like my role with LEC is to continue to say these things that have touched people, and continue to try to spread that message that I'm not going to give up, and I don't want you to give up either. My more specific role, though, and the exciting role I really have in the chapters, is really supporting Rebecca and Mark, who are really spearheading this chapters. I can't really take credit for it. I'm just there really to help cast kind of some vision and get some ideas and add my creativity to the mix, and kind of support them in what they're doing, and make sure that, because the chapters, in a sense, we have this huge Facebook group here, but we're creating all these smaller communities, and actually that'll reach out more to these smaller networks, and even networks we're not even touching right now. And it really all comes back, though, to advocacy. So the goal of the chapters is to help to teach our industry to advocate for ourselves better on the local level, national level, and everywhere in between.
Right.
So the chapters are going to provide that kind of local connection where we can deal with issues differently. As we come out of this, who knows what we're going to come out, how things will come. We know that areas are going to open up at different periods of time. So that really brings an importance for the chapters as well, in this whole grand scheme of things, as we're all together here nationally. But as we come out of this, things are going to transition very differently on the local level, and that's going to be powerful. And the other piece of it too is, on the local level, politics is all local. So if we are advocating and lobbying, we do need to have well, not lobbying per se in that, but if we are advocating for ourselves and working with local politicians, the people that are the actual constituents, we want to empower those people in the chapters to get their message across to their representative. Mm-hmm. And above all, just continue also this whole idea on a local, it's when you have maybe 100, 200, or 1,000 people in a group, it's easier to have more closer conversations than 20,000 people in a group. So it's also about a tighter knit community. So that's kind of the efforts I'm really trying to push forward with the chapters, and with Rebecca and Mark, and the amazing job that they're doing making this thing grow.
Absolutely. So thank you all for sharing so much so far. I think what I'd love to do now is really open it up to some questions. I know that we're nearing our hour, and a lot of people are kind of tuned in right now within our live. And I know that people have questions, people want information. You've done a great job in giving people a good summary of kind of what you guys do and what your role is, and who you are as people. I have a couple questions that people had submitted in advance that I would like to go ahead and ask. And I'd also like to encourage everybody that is logged in right now to please submit questions. We are watching what you're saying in the comments. I see Gabriel just joined in. I see lots of hellos to Alex. So I know he has a lot of people watching as well, and everyone's being so gracious with, some of their comments. But please, if you guys have specific questions and you want to go ahead and type them in right now, please go ahead and do so. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and address some of the questions that I was sent in advance. Which is, what is LEC going to do for the workforce who is at home not working during the pandemic? Are you going to find us aid, fundraise, or simply lobby? I know we've kind of individually touched on that, but as that question as a whole, if someone wants to go ahead and take that one, and then we'll continue. And if anyone wants to chime in.
Alexandra, if it's okay, I'll chime in because I'd like to mention sort of some things that are just immediately happening in the near term. So as we talked about, one of the things that we're really hard at work on in the last, couple of days and this week and really all along, but really it's starting to take shape is, again, we're working kind of cross-functionally across this executive leadership group to identify support resources, as I said, whether it's in the area of mental health and wellness and how to kind of get through this really tough time and uncertainty that we're facing. So that's one piece of it. We're looking at what employers out there are hiring and figuring out a way that we can create potentially a job board. We have a new website that's coming very soon, right, Alexandra? We have a website that's up right now, but it's going to be new and improved very soon. And one of the things that we're trying to do is make sure that that includes potentially job resources, and then provide some guidance around that or links to so that we can connect, those that are seeking with those that are hiring. Again, some additional information about what does all of the aid mean to you? There's been a lot of obviously chatter about it on the Facebook group page. There's a lot of resources out there about it, but we still want to be able to kind of connect the dots for people if there are questions. So we're looking at ways we can potentially address that. We're also, as we talked about, working with a lot of the different industry groups and associations or customers. I have been working with some country music association in Nashville, and they were generous enough to connect us with Go West, which is a production company that's based in Nashville and LA. Tomorrow night, there's actually going to be an event that is going to be on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We'll make sure that there are links in the Facebook page tomorrow, and we make sure that we get that out. But it's 6:30 Eastern time tomorrow night, and it's a concert for Nashville. Nashville, obviously, there's so many of us in the live events industry that are, that are based in Nashville. There's so many people. I'm based in Boston. I'm not. I wish I was based in Nashville. I love Nashville. But there are so many of our industry in Nashville, and they had just come through this tornado and are now dealing with this crisis that we're in the midst of. And so Cocktails with Creatives is tomorrow night. There's going to be a series of performances by artists, and they will be doing fundraising for a number of different groups in the industry. Music Care is being one of them, but they also asked if they could fundraise for us. And so, Shannon is working with them. Shannon, chairing our fundraising committee, is working with them to make sure that, we can do that, and they can fundraise for us. So that's going to be an awesome, right there tomorrow. And again, that's all about, figuring out how we get the faces behind events. And then just what we're doing tonight, this is our first in a series of Facebook Live events. We're going to do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. And we wanted to make sure that we brought the executive leadership group together so you could kind of see, it's been 4 weeks. We wanted you to know what's going on behind the scenes so you can understand what we've been working on, and that we're actually very focused on bringing these types of resources to you. But going forward, it's really not going to be about us or anything like that. It's going to be about you. And we're looking to feature different topics that are important to this community. So we've got some things that we're working on for next week planned. But we would also love to know what you want to hear about as well. We're planning it Tuesday and Thursdays, I would say, for the next 4 to 6 to 8. Let's see how many weeks we go, right? I don't know if we can say that for sure, but I know that as long as this community wants information and support from us, we're prepared to pull something together for you to answer what you need.
I love that. Does anyone else have anything to add to that? I know that was a really great answer, and I'm super excited about the Go West benefit tomorrow night as well. So think that's going to be great. There's so many different things going on, and it's so great to be tied to that. So if anyone doesn't have anything to chime in, I do have another question. I'll go ahead, which kind of segues in right to what you just said, which is what will happen to the Live Event Coalition after the pandemic is, I wouldn't say over, but has slowed down. Once we are able to go back to work, once we are able to really do events again, will it be something that we just go back to work and that's it? Or what will that look like as far as the Live Event Coalition goes?
I think it's right now we're really focused on the crisis at hand. So it's hard to really think that far in advance, and any thoughts we would really even have of that can change dramatically in a matter of days, just based on what we're facing. I would say, though, that when you bring this many people together around one cause of advocacy and creating community, and that we're filling needs, I would think, you know, as this progresses, we're going to find needs, we're going to find a niche. So there is the opportunity that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but we're trying to make it better, as Nancy said, and that there may be opportunities for us in that. But I think right now we're laser focused on trying to support all of us through this, because that is what we need to be thinking about more than anything.
Sure. That's great. Anyone have anything to add to that?
I would just say that we're trying to create a place that everyone feels they have a space. There are a lot of verticals out there that are aligned in music or other areas. And if you don't feel an alignment with one that already exists, you need to feel like you have a home here. So
right.
that's what we're wanting to keep going. But what that looks like is going to be driven by the people who are a part of it.
Right. I love that. Okay, next question. Who can we contact at the Live Event Coalition to assist with unemployment or stimulus questions? Please tell me a little bit more about things like that. I know we had talked about this is our first of the town halls, and I know that we do have some programming coming out, but who is the best contact for things like that, questions within our chapters, things like that?
I think if you send an email to any one of us specific in that area, my background is in human resources for my second career. So I have been supporting a lot of people in that. It is different in every state, and we can't provide answers for everyone at the same time. So as part of our live book event, Facebook live events, we're going to get those experts in those fields to be a part of those discussions, work with the university programs that exist, and put that together. But if there's one-on-one help that's necessary, you know, I will be happy to follow up personally if that's needed, because it is confusing out there.
I would just add, Alexandra, when our new website is, there's some resource links out there now, but when our new website is launched, I don't actually know what the day is that's coming, but there will be a complete community resources page too on that. And we'll make sure that there's plenty of links on there. And to your point, you just mentioned the Facebook Live series that we're going to do. And I think the next one is going to be addressing that very subject.
Right.
In terms of general email, I would just say info@live, and Trevor and Alex, please correct me if I'm wrong, but info@liveeventscoalition.org. Is that correct?
.org. Yep.
And so there is a bunch of us that can get that. info@liveeventscoalition.org is the most clear-cut way for you to reach out to the coalition directly, and we can put somebody on it, whoever that is. And we've got a lot of experts sort of that we're pulling together to try to be able to tap into them in addition to the help that we're willing to give you.
Got it. That's great. And what about signing the letter as far as right now? I know that we have how many signatures now, and what's the best way and easiest way for people to contribute to that?
If they go on to the website, currently, I believe that there is a link to the letter.
Mm-hmm.
And it is important that everybody sign the letter. The letter is separate from the petition because the letter is being sent to the House and Senate leads, as in Pelosi and McConnell and those folks. But it's also going to be sent directly to your local representative. And that's critical to kind of the overall grassroots effort. So it's really important for as many people to sign it.
Okay.
Send it off. It's in a letter generator. All you have to do is put your name in, your zip code, and off it goes. And it is going to go to Hill as well as your local legislation.
So
It's
that's
also
awesome.
easier than that too. If you just look up above this, if you're in the Facebook group, it's the top post here is a link for it as well. So you can find it right here in this Facebook group as well.
Great. Next question, what role will virtual play for events? If anyone specifically wants to target that answer, I would love to hear from you all.
I think a big one, I'll tell you, I think a big one, and I would say, I mean, we're doing a lot of live streaming now, right? While we're quarantined, we're doing some of that, but I have been speaking to clients all week long about events even in January, February, March of 21. And their feeling is that they need to be prepared. I think everybody is just trying to, you know, this, as we talked about, this came on with no warning whatsoever, right? So I want to be prepared, number one, with a backup plan for virtual events. So I'm talking to two conferences in particular that Mark Consiglio and I, who's managing working with our local chapters, work on every year, and they want to have a backup plan for a completely virtual event that in terms of contingency, but they also want to make sure that there is a virtual component of their events in case attendance is down, but people still want to attend, just because people may be concerned about traveling, or B, because we have depleted resources right now, and maybe you may only be able to afford to send one attendee instead of 5, right? So they want to work virtual events into the course of their natural conference anyway. But I think we're going to start to see that and we're already seeing it with live music. And there's a couple of things with that, I would say. So I'm thrilled that we're talking about contingency plans, because we want to be more ready for the next crisis that comes than we were for this one. We've never experienced anything like this in our lifetime. And so I'm glad that we're looking at that, but it also gives us an opportunity to pivot and figure out how we're going to, maybe innovate a little bit and offer different things. And do we have a live streaming studio at, one of our next major conferences, and we can work in different things like that into the programming. So I think it's going to play a big event going forward.
Anyone else have anything to add to that?
I would just piggyback. I think you're going to see a lot of even smaller events just now have that virtual component, even just things you wouldn't even think about. People are going to be like, oh, let's stream it along with this for people who can't make it, and because this has become so second nature. But I also don't think it's going to take away from the live event experience. People need that physical interaction with other human beings, and we crave that, and that the excitement of being in that live event atmosphere.
Very good. Okay, so what I would like to do, I think that right now, those are it for some of our questions. It doesn't look like there's any more that have come in the meantime. What I would like to say is, if you do have other questions, if you're seeing this after the fact and our live has concluded, I want to be respectful of the fact that we've gone a little bit over, but that doesn't mean that you can't ask your questions. You're more than welcome to be able to email us. You can do so at info@liveeventcoalition.org. You can do so in the comments. We're monitoring everywhere. We have people that are really trying to pay attention to what your questions are and what your needs are. And we want to stay connected. I think that's one of the things that will come out of this, is how connected we all were able to become. This gave us an opportunity to reach out to people that we don't normally get to, or that we don't, in the busyness of all this, it's hard to, but in the stillness, I think that connection is important. So if you're seeing this and it's already been recorded, please know that if you do have questions, you have the opportunity to do so, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, or like I said, you could email info@liveeventcoalition.org. You can message any one of the people that you see here, and everyone will be so happy and willing to respond and help and support you. So what I would say is, if anyone has any final thoughts before we conclude for the evening, I would love to hear them. I would love to close this out with any final thoughts that anyone has. Feel free to chime in.
I know that for me, I just want everybody to know that we're in this together. We are united through events. We are events. We have tenacity unlike any other industry. Eileen, you said it. We get in and we get deep. This is not, I joke from my end, I'm Ginger Rogers dancing backwards in high heels and lifting and moving tables and making sure that everything happens. It is an amazing group of creative, committed, smart people. No, you're not alone. Reach out. If you just want to talk to any of us, send that email and say, can I have 5 minutes? I know I'm willing to have that conversation. We just don't want you to feel alone. We are working for you, us as well, because we're part of you, but we're working for you, and together we will get through this. And it is not to make light of it. This is a really crappy time, and it's a really scary time, and everything is unknown. But please know you are not alone. Reach out. We're here.
I would just say something real quick, just because of news today, so people don't get too worried that, yes, the payroll protection program went over. That was known it was going to happen. Talking to my friends who are in banking, don't stress out too much. It may have caught you off guard, but it will get refunded. And I know a lot of small businesses like ours and sole proprietors, you may be worried, but things take time. We're in the middle of a crisis. It's unprecedented. So we just need to be patient and continue to hold on. We'll be all right.
I would love to. I would love to say two things, and I'll make it quick. But one is hashtag faces behind events, please. Faces plural behind events. And the other is similar to what Nancy said. My father, who was my, just hero and is no longer with us, had always told me, and he grew up in the Great Depression. And he has basically raised me with this philosophy, which I live by every single day, which is that there are 3 things in your life that people cannot take from you. And 1 is your integrity, and 2 is your work ethic, and 3 is your education, whether it's formal or self-taught. There's never a day in this industry after 28 years that I don't learn something new and that I don't seek information that is something new. And so whether it's self-taught or it's formal education, you have it. It's your knowledge, it's your skills. You have that, you have your work ethic, and you have your integrity, and they can take whatever else, but they won't take those 3 things from us. And if you live every day with that, it'll serve you well, and we'll come back from this, and we're going to come back from it together.
I love that. Okay, well, I very much appreciate everyone tuning in. I very much appreciate all of you giving your time, your effort, your love, your wisdom, and everything that you guys have been doing for all of us. And I ask you to continue to tune in, continue to stay engaged. I think that, I was talking to someone yesterday, and they were asking advice on, how do you celebrate at home? How are you finding ways to stay positive and stay optimistic? And I think one of the things is really about sharing the love, whether it's putting something that you make at home and giving your neighbor leftovers, or whether, every night my neighborhood at 7:30 at night is playing 3 songs and people are dancing at their doors, and trying to find ways to stay positive. It's a really, really tough time, but we do have each other. And so not only do you guys have each other, but you have all of us, and you have everyone that's in this group and that's a part of this coalition. And I would just say, try to find ways to continue to share that love and be a part of that love, and really notice it and feel it. And stay tuned to our next one, which is next Tuesday. And we'll continue to do some announcements and let you know about topics and upcoming events. And I can't wait to see you guys again soon.
And I just want to say, Alexandra, thank you for all you have done. So it takes a village. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you, guys.
I thank you.
All right, bye. Thanks so much.
Night, Facebook world.